Are you being the hero in your spiritual business? Or are you being more like the slave, the victim, maybe even the saboteur or the prostitute, or even maybe more of the eternal child? My name is Eileen Burns. I'm a soul purpose mentor and spiritual business strategist. And today I'm going to talk about why it's so important to be the hero of your own soul aligned or spiritual business, and some of the patterns that can pull us and distract us and take us away from being the hero in your spiritual business. So when we create a spiritual business and we want to make our business more soul aligned, we are in many ways making a commitment to the soul. We are moving into our life and soul purpose and our soul's mission. We're coming from a deeply spiritual perspective. And we're moving in many ways away from a lot of, how could you say, contrived spirituality, commercialized spirituality, and going at a deeper level to what your soul is guiding you to do. So that takes a certain level of courage, commitment, and strength. But the reality is that you've already started your hero's journey. When we come into maybe a holistic and spiritual business, most business owners are coming into these fields, particularly if they're genuinely in these fields for the right reason. They're coming into this field to help others and help others because they were helped by some of these things themselves. There's a drive where at some level you wanted to feel more empowered or healed or supported. And the hero is very much the archetype that goes through so many challenges and has tenacity, has determination and strength, and keeps going. Imagine stepping up that mountain, but going up that mountain, lots of things can happen, and lots of things that you didn't expect can happen. And that's what life is all about. Life is about a journey that sometimes takes us through all sorts of it takes us on different paths than sometimes we expect. We hit sort of boulders or things that get, blocks, or sometimes they're not blocks in many ways. Most of the time they're not. They're actually just guiding us in a different direction or teaching us something. And other than bringing part of our own journey into our work, our strengths, our gifts, our skills, and our experience, insight, and wisdom, we're also bringing to the table our own journey through the business journey, because running a business is not easy. Running a business has all sorts of challenges, and it requires a certain level of, again, the hero's journey: tenacity, determination, courage, integrity. And integrity is the same as when you are going on the hero's journey. It's about not compromising your integrity, trying to create a healthy business without compromising your integrity. And a soul aligned business has to have at the heart of it integrity, strong ethics, and values. But the reality is, the modern day world, and even a lot of modern day marketing, and the way things that are pushed for many businesses can, in many ways, cause people to move out of their integrity, move out of alignment with what a soul level is truly right for them and truly right for the business. So the hero's journey is, in many ways, there's certain aspects in a business that we have to make decisions on our own. And when we're coming from integrity, it's only us that can make those decisions. You can bring in contractors and you can bring other people. And I understand that sometimes people you bring in and they're not always full of integrity, they're not fully committed, they're not really being honest when they're doing things. And that's a whole other issue, but it has to start with you being as integrous as possible, as being courageous as possible, to live by your core values and strength, and to be the example. And when you're running a holistic or spiritual business and it's more soul aligned, you are, in many ways, even if you don't see yourself as a leader, what you are doing is leading by example. And the hero leads by example, because the hero is going on their journey, and no matter what odds are stacked against them, they keep going. And sometimes they make some mistakes, but they are going in with a courageous heart and they have the right intentions. They are trying to do something that is, in many ways, is very big or beyond them. Now, if you regard yourself as a light worker, a lot of light workers, even light workers that actually don't see the bigger picture of what's going on at the moment, have this drive and feel that they know that they're here to do something bigger, right? And that's part of the light worker's journey. Now, with that bigger, it can be very easy for it to go into the ego, like, well, I'm so important, and we get so grandeur. But there's also that aspect we need to own that we are part of that. There's a powerful thing going on, and many of humanity are starting to recognize that they're light workers too. I think sometimes there's a lot of spiritual ego in the healing sector, and in the therapy and coaching sector, where everybody thinks that they're the light workers because they do that work. And light workers come in all shapes and sizes. And humanity at the moment really needs the light worker to step up into their mission. And part of stepping up into your mission has to start from the soul. But one of the things that I've noted over and over again, and I'll give you a bit of a background to give you a bit of a context how I see this. So first of all, I've been a huge consumer of the healing, the holistic and the spiritual sector it's nearly now, I'm saying over 30 years, it's nearly probably 35 years, right? It probably is, actually, yeah. Now, I was someone that had very rare health challenges, had a lot of medical harm, just very unlucky. Lots of things seemed to happen to my life. And from a young age, there was, I was diagnosed very young with a very rare medical challenge, which in many cases causes people brain damage and all sorts of things. But one of the things that was a repeated lesson, and something that I kept creating, was the bizarrest circumstances, bizarrest health challenges, lots of strange incidents, and I was always, from a young age, I think, very organically and naturally drawn. As someone highly empathic and sensitive, I always sensed, I had a good sense of energy. I just wasn't maybe understood it, but I had a good sense of energy of what was off and what wasn't. And there was lots of things where I would naturally be very drawn. I was a child that would be sitting in the summer, putting rose petals on their sandwich to eat, even if it didn't taste. And as I explored the holistic sector, I met some absolutely amazing, wonderful people that I can honestly say that I am so honoured to have met and to be blessed that they helped and supported me, and mostly inspired and educated me, because it was mostly I think I was like a sponge. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to understand why this worked, why something didn't work, because I had lots of experiences where I saw that some therapies seemed people were going for years and years, and it only just that people were just scratching the surface, or it was just supporting them with certain things. And there was other modalities that could make huge differences to people in one session. And, again, depends on what it was. And one of the first people that supported me was a man who was a natural healer, but went and studied Reiki. So he was known as a Reiki healer, but actually he had a healing gift. And he would support me in many ways, but encourage me to go down also other avenues. Now, he was someone that many people came all over the UK to see him because he had such a phenomenal gift. And he was able to help people in ways that many other healers couldn't help people. He was able to help people very quickly, fast, and he could see things that many other people couldn't. Now, he didn't always see things to me, but he did see things to, I would find later on, other people that were around me, maybe family and friends. He would say a few things, and I think he did it deliberately so that later on I would know why he sent me down other routes and why. And he obviously could see there was other things going on with me. And to let you understand, one of the things that happened was at 19, I was mercury poisoned. A dentist put mercury up the root canal instead of the tooth. So if anyone, understand, or if you don't understand mercury, there are different elements to mercury and how much, how mercury, but actually injecting it into the body, mercury is regarded as a highly toxic and poisonous substance. It's interesting that it's put in teeth, but obviously it's never meant to get up a root canal. And interesting, I would then have a bizarre eye situation where I had a hole in the eye just right above where the problem was. That was a bit of a mystery. It was a bit of a horror to many specialists all around the UK who actually would have a look at me. And it would appear to be, they would keep asking me, was I sure it wasn't an accident? But nobody wanted to know about the incident with mercury. They kept saying to me, was I sure I wasn't in an accident? I'd get glass in my eye or, something in my seriously. And explained that what was shown up was something that would normally be related to a very traumatic car accident. And that was just one incident. I had lots of things and bizarre things happen. Now, that took me down, obviously, the medical route because there was a fear of losing my eye, and my eye pressure was very, very low, seriously low. But thankfully, the parents I had and the way that I was aligned, I went down as much of the holistic route. And along that path, other than meeting phenomenal people, and it wasn't that I didn't, everybody was kind and compassionate. I also met a lot of people taking a lot of risk. And I recognised very early on that a little bit of knowledge is dangerous, and that some people who mean well can actually cause a lot of harm. And, there's this saying, they'll say, as long as you have positive intention. I don't agree with that, because there's a lot of people with positive intention, but they actually have very little awareness and self-awareness. And some of the things that happened weren't just people that were on beginners, even though I see this a lot where we've got a lot of fast track stuff now. One of the particular incidents that happened to was someone who had the type of therapy, they had a degree in it, were quite experienced, but they used something else on me that that I was so lucky. They told me to take a product and they kept saying that they had done the research and that it was fine. And just fortunate for me, I was only on the product 1 or 2 days and I had an appointment with my eye specialist. And my eye, I'm not going to frighten people, but it was so bad that I was lucky that I didn't lose the eye. Now, what I learned out of that was that lots of people sometimes, for business reasons and when they're not completely in their soul and they're not focusing on what their soul purpose is, can go down so many tangents and start dabbling in things that they don't fully understand. And we all do it because we live in a world of distractions. And also, it is important when, obviously, you're any health and wellness practitioner, that you do understand things and you have a broad perspective. Because often you cannot approach your own modality if you don't see the bigger picture. You know, some of the most narrow-minded well-being practitioners are the people that just stick to one thing and don't want to see out the box. So what they do is often it's, you know, that they're keeping themselves small. But on the polar opposite, when we want to and we think we're here to rescue everybody, when we think we're here to serve everybody, because that's sometimes you hear, I mean, I used to hear some of the insane things like, I'm here to teach everybody this tool. I'm here to give the masses. Now, some people's some people's mission and message is for the masses, but sometimes that is just the ego basically pulling at you because you don't feel you're enough and that you have to heal the world. And none of us are here to heal the world. We're here to first empower and heal ourselves as much as we can. And there's so many layers to that. And often, you know, that's an understanding in itself, because people often get stuck in just the physical and they don't realize that there's different levels to that, and there's different levels to consciousness and, you know, in your spiritual work. But when we are still the wounded healer, because the wounded healer is a powerful aspect of the spiritual business, most spiritual businesses. The wounded healer is that desire from your own wounds, your own experience. You are able to be compassionate and caring and support others, but the wounded healer can pivot us into not recognizing where skill set starts and ends. And it's not about, you know, it's not about me kind of putting anyone down or saying to people that, you know, you can't expand and grow. But what it is understanding at a soul level what your true purpose is, right? Now, in the hero's journey, we obviously are going along that journey and we have to go through certain initiations, certain experiences, certain journeys for us to be able to become our own hero. And it's the same if you can't go through certain initiations and don't have certain experiences, there's certain things you're not going to be able to help clients with if you haven't been through those initiations, right? And that's part of the hero's journey. And sometimes we get stuck at certain parts of the journey because we're stuck in our victimhood, we're stuck in our slave or servant archetype, we're stuck in the prostitute, the saboteur, you know, the victim or eternal child, inner child wounding, the child that wants to stay small, or the child that wants to not grow up. There's the whole layers to this. But the key is stepping into your power and getting more soul aligned. The more that you can help someone become more soul aligned and soul connected, the other things, first of all, people start to be more consciously aware of their shadow traits and where they're given away their power. It's not an instant thing. It's like the hero. The hero's journey is not a fast, quick journey. If you watch these films and it shows you a hero, my goodness, the person goes through all these different things. And then you think that they're getting to the end and they're going to win. They're getting to that point and then something else happens. That's life, right? So in many ways, the hero's journey is continues for us. But if you look at what pivoted you into your business, where were you the hero in an aspect of your life that brought you to here? What can you really honestly say, right, okay, this is something I really achieved, it was difficult, I achieved that. And that's where you start. That's where you start in your hero's journey. And then you obviously look at the other areas where the vulnerabilities and the weakness, or the areas that you have to still be a hero and move through. Now, in my own journey, I'm not out the woods, I'm not 100%. There's some things that I managed to solve very well in my health and move through that were way beyond what was perceived that I could do, right? There were certain things that I did in a natural way without medication, without surgery, without things. There's lots of things I did, but I also had things that I didn't move through. There was things that happened that I'm still working through, right? So a lot of my healing journey and my particularly physical, and I would say physical, the physical aspect, it's like moving through the layers and moving through that aspect. But there's other areas of my life where, and this is, I'm explaining this so that you can understand and look at it in your own life. But there is other areas of my life where I've showed, and many to do with my health and other things, great tenacity and determination. And no matter what happened to me health-wise and disabled-wise, and so many things that did happen, I still did not let it beat me or stop me getting on with my purpose and making a life for myself in some capacity and being of purpose. And for me, from I started having this real strong soul's desire. I've done a lot of soul work and a lot of deep work as I started to get out. And obviously, as I learned more and I understood things more, I did other types of work and maybe even deeper work. And that's been an ongoing process. So I've took my spirituality and my mission and vocation very seriously, not at just even a superficial, like getting the certificates, getting the qualification, getting the training, but at a really deep level, doing the work myself. Because I was aware that the more that you can do more work on yourself, you can actually see a bigger picture and be far more beneficial for your clients. And a lot of the work that I do is I help very experienced healers and therapists. So it's important that I'm doing the work and that I have got strengths in areas that maybe they don't, that they're struggling with. That's the whole point in me supporting them. So I have to be prepared to do the work. And I have highly invested in the work. But I've also tried to master as much as possible the things that are the main focus of my business. Now, yes, as I got older, I was able to go into different areas because there were some foundations in my business that were very strong. And I'll give you an example. And this will help you understand and look at your own business. So some of the main foundations in my business are I've practiced meditation daily for 30 years and I studied all sorts of meditation. And quite early in my career, I started teaching meditation in schools. I had been teaching it privately, and then I started doing it in schools. Then I'd done actual private classes. And one of the biggest areas was teaching meditation. But alongside that, I had also been studying stress management. I'd studied all sorts of courses under the stress management umbrella, plus lots of things that people would class that work with stress management or could be included in stress management. So that became my main area of focus in my business. Also under that umbrella, I also studied, all sorts of things. I spent many years, it's probably now over 14, 15 years, getting into really deep things to do with empath, sensitives and intuition, spirit, psychic things. And there was lots of things then that evolved into something else because I had after a period of sepsis where I was put in an induced coma, and I had had some strange experiences. And one experience that really changed me, I came out of that situation and recognizing that I had to study certain things I would have never considered studying. But what happened all gave me more enrichment in it. What I didn't know was I was going by my soul because it wasn't logical. Some of it was like I knew I was doing it, and some of it felt uncomfortable, but I knew I had to do it. And now I can see the bigger picture because it was giving me a bigger perspective to help the healers that help. And I worked personally going to get help with over 300 healers and spiritual teachers over 30 years, more than 30 years. And that gave me huge insight in being able to open my mind and see things from a different perspective. Now, if you look at your hero's journey in your business, what began your journey? What challenge did you have in life that was a huge challenge, that was part of your wounding, that you overcame, or that you're still overcoming, right? But where have you said to yourself, right, okay, I'm definitely I've managed to do that. That is huge strength, and that's the area I can help. Because a business has to be built on a big strength. It cannot be built on, and a lot of people used to ask me why I wasn't helping people with many of the conditions that I had. I remember one of the conditions I had, I was diagnosed with ME, but it wouldn't be till later. The two diagnoses from abroad would imply that it was actually Lyme. Now, ME, you can get obviously ME having Lyme's because of what it does to the body, but it would seem as if that was probably the cause of many other things that I had. But the reality was that was not the main thing. My story was much more than, and people, might think, but that's hard enough, and it is hard enough. But my story wasn't just about ME or just Lyme's. I had Parry-Romber's disease. I had lots of things. I had lots of other things. So I knew at a soul level that there was much deeper. My journey was to go more on not just the physical. It was more spiritual. There was more things that happened to that impacted me on a spiritual level. So my strength was my spiritual connection. And I didn't realize at the time, and a connection to my integrity, and a connection to being soul led. So sometimes it takes us further along the journey. I'm over 30 years, really getting into this journey. And it's not till you start to see the bigger picture, you actually see what your mission, the deeper aspect of your mission. And some of the common ways that we can sabotage the hero and lose track of our inner hero is, the shadow traits within our main archetype. So we all have dominant archetypes that are very strong, and that are where our gifts are, where our power is, but it also can be where our biggest weaknesses and vulnerabilities. For example, if you look at someone that has a strong leader archetype, they can have the strong king or queen archetype. Now, they have the ability to naturally lead people and to be successful, and often are very good at being more confident in their worth, their sovereignty, and their financial success, those type of things. It's like they have the ability to lead people towards success. So a leader archetype, and its power stands for their integrity, is being able to lead people towards success in, in different areas of life, maybe security, financial, maybe empowerment, confidence, and self-esteem, with complete integrity, because they genuinely, and their motive is to help. They want others to succeed like the way they succeed, and that the way they can achieve, right? So they have to come from that level, that they've been honest about the level of success that they have and what they've achieved to be able to help other people. That's an integrous part. Now, the leader and its shadow traits can be maybe tyrannical, can maybe get too much into power and control, or so focused on just the money that they lose insight about truly helping people at a soul level. Now, this is what I'm talking about more for a spiritual business. So actually, I'm not saying it's hard, but it can be a hard one for a lot of people who are spiritually driven, who see themselves as coaches, not to get pulled into the just about the money, just about that, and so focused. And we've seen this a lot in the spiritual started to get, I would say it started to increase dramatically. Last 10, 5 years, where there's just very seductive push, where actually integrity starts, values start, and it's all about just money. And it's all about just pushing people towards financial success, but no backbone and no soul in it, telling people to do things that actually compromise most people's ethics and values, and losing sight of, and actually really losing sight of that, because they're disconnected from their soul. Now, there is, other archetypes like the romantic, the lover archetype. They have this beautiful way of being able to make people feel special, feel connected, loved, cared for in a kind of deeply intimate way. But they have this ability, they're very tasteful how they do things. So they bring to the table, they're often the people that, I've got a friend who's very strong in that archetype, and when she comes to see, she brings all these goodies. Now, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, all these things, but she manages to bring all these nice things. And she likes to cook, she likes nice smells, taste, that kind of thing, and likes to have a nice setup. They're great at creating events and things like that. Now, their power is the ability to do things often in a very tasteful way, and a very, they take care of the small details. But the shadow trait, because they have a very, for passion and indulgence, they can easily get more caught up in some of the things in a very indulgent way, right? And then again, focus on the wrong things in a business. They can spend all their money on the wrong things. And you can see this sometimes in spas, therapy clinics, holistic therapies, and people who are all caught up with opening the clinic, and they spend all their money on candles and beautiful furniture and all that, but they don't have money for marketing, right? And it's people who buy lots of things for their business, but they don't spend their money in the right things, as again, the advertising of the business. They want to buy all the things that they love. And so this is where you can see now the power can be taken away there when the money aspect is and the energy is focused on the wrong things, the superficial things that don't have a foundation, even though that archetype has the energy of the environment, and it's really important. They can also lose sight of things, and they can be so focused on the superficial and the aesthetics, and be so caught up in the aesthetics and the superficial, that they're actually, again, not connecting at a soul level what's really, really important to them, and not representing what is the soul and the courage and strength and the foundation of them and their business, right? And that's another example. Now, I'm trying to think another archetype that you can see with that. So we also have, for example, the sage. So the sage archetype tends to be, in the spiritual business world, you would normally see the sage archetype as someone that has been in the work a long time, at least it's usually about 30 years or 20, 30 years, who are, it's like the academic, there's someone that's really into deep spiritual teachings. They've went really deep into things and studied things at a really deep level. Someone that's studied scriptures and sacred teachings, and not just like read a book out of Amazon or anything like that, really deeply, or go and study things like maybe theology and different things of spirituality, or even it could be things like quantum energy and vibration. They study it to maybe an academic or a certain level. There is another aspect of the sage, but I don't want to make it simple, but the sage archetype in its strength and its hero is, many ways it has reached it's like the never-ending student, or the PhD student, who invest so much time, and then they're starting to get the rewards for all the hard work and dedication, and that's many of them reaching their peak, right? And reaching maybe a form of enlightenment and awareness. The sage is more detached than many of the archetypes. It's objective, right? And because it has to be objective, because it has to be able to look at information and text and readings, and not get emotional about what's truth, facts, or whatever. It is looking at things from a more wider objective perspective, right? So its pinnacle is reaching that point where they are presenting something that works, and they're sharing it and teaching it with other people, and they're helping people see things from a different perspective. That's why a lot of sage branding is used in a lot of academic schools like Oxford. I think Berkeley uses, but most of them, there's another English one, it doesn't matter. But anyway, you can get the idea. Now, if we look at things like the orphan archetype has it has to often overcome being abandoned, being rejected in some point in their life. And the hero in that aspect is them becoming independent and self-reliant, but also wanting to be part of a community and create a community. The only challenge with the orphan archetype from even a business perspective is that sometimes in a business perspective, the orphan archetype wants to cater for everybody and make everyone part of the family and focus on everybody. And they lose sight of, they can lose their identity in that. They're so wanting to create a family and community environment that they can lose themselves, and they can lose what the focus is of their business and what their values and who they can best serve. So it's, for example, if you want to cater to a certain niche, but you assume everybody in that niche is your audience and they're going to be aligned, and you get offended that they not feel aligned, that's your wounding showing up, because you're kind of believing that just because you're offering that you should offer that. It's like when sometimes I get this when I'm helping people with their work, and then they try and say, Eileen, I've got these services, I think we could help you, and they get a wee bit offended. Or if I've said, in passing conversation, is a therapist, and I've invested in that, and they'll say, I'll for that. It was almost like, why did you not come to me? And there's a wounding there, that they're taking things personally. They assume that you should come to them, where that's an actual wounding. So the orphan archetype and the communitarian archetype are very much about, they build up, they've learned to understood what it feels like to be rejected or abandoned, and to work on, but their woundings can keep them in this poor me or aloofness. If they're not fully being, they can also sometimes, it can be like the lonely child that can be orphaned in some ways, but gets their own way, or knows how to manipulate other people to do things for free or to do things at a discount. Sometimes that can come in. It can come in with other archetypes as well, but I've seen this a lot where it's like their own wounding and their needs, because they believe everybody should be equal things, but they also want sometimes to get things at maybe certain level, and they just want, so for example, it's like they want an equal exchange, even though if you're offering something that is far more valuable and costs you more, that it's almost the qualities get out of balance. There's no rationality, right? So, and sometimes it can create sometimes an entitlement, and sometimes that can be like the lonely child, that the child that seems to get everything. So there's the opposite aspect. So one of the things that we understand is in our business, there's lots of things that can shape how a business is healthy and strong and how it moves up. And for example, the caregiver archetype, one of its strengths in business is being generous. So, showing freebies and giving people access, even at points where they're maybe not ready to buy, they can get access to content and get support or get something that they don't have to automatically pay. The only negative side of the caregiver archetype in that way is that they can attract a lot of people are just the freebie seekers and who are not really committed, or again, as I said, have a sense of entitlement, expectation, have a lot of wounding around money, have a lot of wounding around what they should and shouldn't do. Sometimes you get a lot of distortion sometimes with people in their child archetypes who don't see business from a mature adult perspective. They're seeing it from the child and almost like, well, they must have had it easy to get a business, or they have a lot of naive views, and they're choosing to stay small or expect other people to help them out with their business challenges, help other people, they expect everybody else to do the work for them and not being willing to make the sacrifices. And this is really important. If you look at the hero's journey, the hero is willing to make the sacrifices and the commitment that is required. They get their hands dirty. They don't sit like a little princess on, the princess chair or the queen's chair and expect everybody to run after them and expect that everybody else is going to grow their business. They do what they need to do. And I have to be honest, I'm very lucky because I've had very strong role models that are very about getting your hands dirty. and in one way that really helped me. So I come from a family business background, but also have grandparents that were in business and family where they, I suppose, worked as a team when they needed to work as a team, but never ever got anything handed in a plate. Right now, yeah, there's shadow elements can come from that, and both on one side of my grandparents were actually worked for Lord Stirling. One was a footman, and my gran she worked in the kitchens, right? Now, that has slave and servant archetypes. So sometimes I've had to work on that, not being people's slave or servant, where they're trying to manipulate me, trying to get things for free, especially because I really highly value, I highly invest in my training. I spend a lot of money doing the right things because I want to be high quality. I don't want to be just doing things at surface level. And so the caregiver archetype has the biggest challenges with they naturally tend to be generous and naturally are driven by the heart. So that business is one of the easiest. Actually, they'll always stay heart driven, but they can burn themselves out. Their business is often destroyed by allowing other people to manipulate them. And that can be everything from, it can be from contractors, it can be from clients and customers, it can be other things that happen. They can send out a lot of victim, or because they're constantly, it's like they're sending out this kind of victim or come just get everything from me, right? They're not owning their power. They're not they often tend to be like what I'm like. They tend to be the ones that really do the training. They tend to do more and more training to be advanced because they're all about safety and effectiveness, like a mum. They want to make sure they're doing everything right, right? They're not missing anything out. They want to do everything right, but can be taken as a softie. People can take advantage of that. Particularly, what I find really interesting is I've seen this a lot. A lot of clients that do have the money that they just choose not to, and do have a lot of money, are sometimes the most manipulative. It's almost they see the person who's the generous heart. So the caregiver has to stand up and learn to be more disciplined and more firm in the and love themselves and be a good example, like have good respect for themselves and values, like a mother, when if she shows that she's good value and respect for herself, she helps her children. And that's what one of the hardest things. I'm still working on that, right? But that is part of, so if we look at a journey in our business, it's a progress for us to be within even our own archetypes, the, you know, at the pinnacle and how to move through that. And in a business, you have lots of things that can happen that can, you know, take the guts out of you. There can be lots of challenges that, particularly if they're challenges that you really struggle with in relation to your archetype, they're part of your initiation. Now, some of the challenges that I had personally that actually do come up is sometimes wounding in my own business is this judgment from so many healers and therapists that I wasn't fully physically healed. But at a deeper spiritual level, you know, I'm spiritual enough and I've got higher consciousness enough to recognize that everyone has wounding and things that they've not healed. And someone that says that are actually coming from a really low level of consciousness, because we all have challenges. And sometimes it's not just a miracle cure, and particularly if you've had, like, you know, for example, lots of things that have been happened, you know, that have happened over a long period of time and lots of different things. The journey is a journey, and we don't have to be perfect. We obviously, you know, want to be have, you know, strength in the area we're helping people. I'm not helping, you know, I'm not helping people with the conditions that I have. That's not my area of expertise. I'm helping people become more soul empowered. I help people become more mentally and emotionally resilient. You know, I was a stress management expert for 20 years because despite the challenges that I faced and a lot of horrible things that actually happened to me with the medical and the holistic, people, as I said, a little bit of knowledge that can be dangerous and a little bit of, you know, a lot of ego. That was actually more traumatic in many ways for me than some of the most extreme circumstances that I suffered, more challenging and deeply wounding than even some of the extreme health challenges I had, right? And so that's been a curve that I've had to overcome. And then about my self-worth, my self-esteem, and not by allowing other people's opinion and ideas when they don't even really know the bigger picture. They're because that's their stuff, right? That's been part of my initiation. So what's been part of your initiation? What is the things that's come up over and over again that you're actually moving through really well, that you're getting up that mountain? And also recognize what are the areas that maybe you get stuck in. That's part of the hero's journey. What area in your business have you the greatest strength? But what are maybe areas that you're trying to sell or you're trying to focus on, but if you're being really honest with you, is not where your great strength is. You can only be a hero in the areas of where your strengths are, or where maybe your vulnerabilities been, but the strengths have overcame that. But if it's an area that you know, there's some things in life that we're just not, that's not where our gifts and our strengths is. But I meet many people who try and make themselves, they want to be a coach, but sometimes they're not a coach. Just because you do a coaching qualification and you have a coaching certificate doesn't equate to actually being a great coach. It's like, I'm actually more a better teacher. That's, you know, I'm a teacher, natural teacher. Now, it's like you can be a healer, but some people are natural healers and some people are not. And I just to give you an example, the first person I ever met, when he walked through you, you felt phenomenal. And I've been very fortunate to work with some phenomenal healers around the world, that things that really shifted that most modalities never touched the surface, right? Phenomenal people that heal people with cancer like that. They heal all sorts of things. They see and experience, and they're the healers that the top healers in the world go to, right? And these people are natural. They were born to do that. You have to unlock in your business what you're here to do. And often your modalities are just tools, are part of the stepping stones. Because often when we get into the healing and spiritual sector, the things that we explore and we're interested in are actually just a door opening up another door to bring you to your purpose. So don't get stuck that just because you've spent how many £1,000 and how many years on a coaching or a training school, that is what you're here to do. That could be the thing that opens the door, but it doesn't mean that that's where you end up or where you're going to end up in the top of the mountain. You are the hero of your own journey. You're also the hero of your spiritual business when you are full in integrity and actually know what you can do best and who you can do it best for. It's not about the superficial things. And the more that you can get soul led and soul connected, it can make things so much easier. Now, if you want some help in this area, check out my Deep Soul Connection. It's a deep meditation and soul connection program. It is a low-cost course for considering how powerful the tools and techniques that I teach in it. And it's one of the most powerful things that can help you get back into soul connection instead of giving your power over to everything else. So many people give their power over to guides, they give their people over to other people, they give their power over to business coaches, marketing mentors, social media, what the trends are. Even, look at what people are they're so caught up with the seductive aspect of society that they're losing their soul in their business. And the hero's journey is about integrity, it's about real depth, courage, and soul. And every soul aligned business has to have that in the foundation of, its growth, the foundation of even where it starts. Okay. Have a wonderful day and own that hero's journey, that hero's archetype within you. Okay. And okay, I forgot. Make sure you check out, I also have a free 5-day series, How to Be Authentically You, because that helps you step more into the authentic values and things that are really important. So make sure you check that out as well. Okay, have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye for now.